Live. Welcome to the Simplified Business Blueprint. So, today we're talking about how to grow your business without paid ads or complicated marketing. And I just got off this weekend my Magnetize Masterclass series that I led, which was around a similar theme. So, we're going to cover as much as we can here in the live today. Say hello as you're tuning in. Let me know where are you tuning in from, and were you on the Magnetize Masterclass series this weekend? So I know whether where the group is in terms of your understanding of this topic. If you weren't, the replays are still available for 1 week, so they'll be up until Sunday, April 2nd. So if you want those replays, let me know. You can type Magnetize in the comments, and I'll be sure to get you the link. So, the theme of today, a lot of people that I talk to are feeling tired of complicated marketing, paid advertising. They're trying these things, they're not really working. And so, I have really I've been an entrepreneur for a decade now, and I've been making six figures or more per year for over 9 years. I've made in multiple six figures for 7 years or several years. And cumulatively, I just added it all up. I've made over $2.5 million in my career so far. And that's really exciting. And the most exciting thing I think about all of that is that 90 to 95% of that income came without like paid advertising. I mean, we did run paid ads for a while. I went down that whole rabbit hole. I tried it. And then I realized at some point I was like, the numbers just weren't there where I wanted them to be, and I was exhausted, and I was like, spending all this time, all this money on that, when the truth is I've always had this approach that I've used to grow my businesses that is a warm network approach. It is a simplified approach. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So whether you're on live or watching the replay, let me know again, where are you tuning in from? And then what's your biggest frustration right now with growing your business around the marketing side of things? What is it that is frustrating you? Are you trying something and it's not working? Or are you not even sure what to try because you feel like there's just so many conflicting different kinds of advice out there. So the more I know about what specifically you're dealing with, the more I can kind of customize this topic to you. So quick version of my story, in case some of you don't know it, I started out in online marketing. That was my career for many years, and then transitioned into coaching 5 years ago. And first tried and failed starting a coaching business in 2017. And I was really embarrassed. I got basically one client. I wasn't making enough money to sustain myself and had to go back to my marketing career. A year later, I was able to make the transition successfully and grew very quickly to six figures and then to multiple six figures. And so as I've looked back and been reflecting lately and really celebrating this kind of 10-year anniversary of being an entrepreneur, and I've really looked at like, what is it that's been most effective for me in terms of marketing my business? And then what is it when I've coached my clients that's been most effective for them and helping them get to consistent 5 to 10K plus months and really, sharing their gifts with the world, feeling more confident. That's what the Simplified Business Blueprint really was born out of, was that kind of looking back and research and bringing together the best of the best of what's really worked for me and worked for my clients all over the world, by the way. So we have a comment, I don't even know where to start. I am new into the business. I have a lot of personal skills, less in the technology and marketing area. Yeah, I heard that a lot Wednesday. What is the business you're thinking about starting or that you are starting? That'll help me kind of customize a little bit to you. And anyone else on live, share as well. Where are you in the process? And if you were on, I don't know Wednesday if you were on my Magnetize series this past weekend, but I talked a lot about the roadblocks that get in people's way of growing to the next level in their business. And one of the roadblocks I shared that a large majority of the people watching said they resonated with or related to was having like stuff about sales and marketing. So there's the confusion of just not knowing what to do. To me, that's more like not being clear on the path, right? You want a path, you want a step-by-step process, but one that's, I always say, there is no one size fits all marketing approach. Okay. So there's no marketing approach that's like, this is the perfect marketing approach for everyone because you're unique. You're 100% unique. And that's why a lot of us get frustrated going like, why isn't this working for me? Or why doesn't it feel right? And so the way I teach the Simplified Business Blueprint isn't about sort of pigeonholing people and going, here's the one approach you need to follow. It's about, first of all, really getting you clear on a vision that lights you up and pulls you forward. So again, in the Magnetize Masterclass series, that's a lot of what we were working on was the vision. Like, what is that vision that you feel like a 10 out of 10 excited about so that you wake up in the morning and you have the energy and you have the excitement to take the actions you need to take to move it forward. Then once you have the vision, it's about the mindset of like what could get in your way, the patterns and the things that take us out of the game. If that's like self-doubt, like who am I to do this? Or perfectionism, like needing everything to be perfect before you move forward, or overwhelm, like you consistently find yourself in the state of overwhelm and you're just not sure how to move through it or how to make the time to work on what you want to work on. All of these are patterns, and the next step basically in the Simplified Business Blueprint is to, or Simplified Business System is help you making you aware of what those patterns are, which is a lot of what we did in Magnetize this weekend. And then how do you move through those on a day-to-day basis when stuff comes up? When I moved into coaching a few years ago, 5 years ago now, and I actually made the leap successfully, or I say it wasn't a leap, it was a transition. It took time, but I was able to replace my six-figure income in about 8 months through coaching. And when I did that, what really made the difference there was having that crystal clear vision that lit me up and pulled me forward, and then having the support and systems like ways of approaching these patterns and these mindset things that would come up when I would feel like stuck and like, I don't want to put myself out there. Like, who am I to do this? Right. And so that is, those were a couple of the really, really important foundational pieces before we even got into strategy, before we got into any kind of like, what kind of marketing should I be doing? Wednesday says, coaching moms of teens and or middle-aged women getting back into their groove, particularly connecting with other women. Okay. Yeah, so obviously you've chosen a direction, a beginning of a direction there. I'm not sure what stage you're at in terms of like developing you have some clarity, it sounds like, around your target market. I think probably if we had longer to talk here, you could tell me more about what getting into their groove, back into their groove means. So let's just take it into the Simplified Business System. So there's the vision, right? Then there's the mindset and the patterns and things that come up and how to move through those. And then there is, well, let me say one more thing on mindset. When I asked everyone on the masterclass series this past weekend, like, what is the number one thing getting in the way of you taking your business to the next level or starting the business that you want to start? 90% of the people shared something that was mindset related. It was a fear, it was a pattern, it was a something like that. Do you guys resonate with that or relate to that? Just say I relate in the chat if that's something you relate to. So that's why this piece is so important, and it's something that's not covered in most business coaching programs. And a lot of people are just focusing on the strategies and they're not really breaking you through the mental part, the emotional part, which is like the most important piece. We get all of that aligned. Imagine if you had a 10 out of 10 vision, like you're so excited, cannot wait, it's so crystal clear. And then all that fear and doubt maybe doesn't go away, but it fades into the background to where you can take the actions. How much easier would it be to take your business to the next level, right? So that's so much of what we're talking about here. And then it's being clear on the path, which is like the step-by-step process to follow. And so in the Simplified Business System, what I teach is, what are your unique gifts? What do you have to offer? What is your experience? Wednesday, you're obviously tapping into some of that for yourself. And then who do you want to serve? Who is that ideal client, that ideal target market? And really answering that question once and for all, so you're not going back and forth. Now, it may evolve. I'm not saying it's never going to change, but that you feel really crystal clear. And not only that, here's what a lot of business programs miss as well, is validating that market wants what you have to offer and that they're willing to pay for it, right? So much of the time we're creating in this kind of void and hoping that people are going to register once we put our offer out there. But what if you knew before you even created the offer and marketed it and put all these weeks or months into all of that? What if you knew that there was a market for it and that they were willing to pay for it? Would that feel like more, would that give you more confidence? Just say confidence in the chat if that would make you feel more confident in putting yourself out there. So all of this has to happen, and you need clear offers that are high value so you can charge the rates you want to charge and feel 100% confident in the value you're providing and have people excited to sign up and work with you, but also that you're earning the amount that you need to be earning in order to sustain yourself or quit your job or whatever your goal is, right? And so that's kind of the next piece is what are your offers? What is the pricing that's right for you? There's no one size fits all pricing either. And so really finding that sweet spot for you. And then it's a matter of learning the skills. So this is the next piece that a lot of people miss is you can't just go out there. I mean, you could and try to, emulate the strategies other people are doing. They're like, oh, well, I did this exact funnel or I did these ads and, and it grew my business. Well, in my experience, I always use the analogy or metaphor, I can never remember which one it is, but of a leaky bucket. Okay, let's imagine you have a bucket and this bucket is where you want to collect your water, and your water is your income, your clients, like all the people that are going to come in and work with you. So you're carrying around this bucket and you're so excited and you're doing all this marketing and you start putting yourself out there. And then as all this, potential people are coming through, they're like curious about what you're doing, they're reading your posts or they're looking at your stuff, and none of them are converting into clients. And you're going like, what is going on? Like, why am I not getting any clients? Do you guys feel this way? Just say, I feel you in the chat if you've had this experience. You're like, I'm taking actions. I'm telling people that I'm doing this. Why is nobody signing up to work with me? If you're having that experience, I want you to imagine you look down into the bucket, you look down at the bottom, and all of a sudden you see, oh my gosh, there's all these tiny holes. And you realize all this water, right, or all this liquid has been coming in the form of like curious people, and it's been pouring through the bottom of your bucket. And you're like, what on earth? Nobody told me that this would happen. How do I plug the holes in this bucket? Well, I'll tell you right now how you plug the holes in the bucket is there are certain skills that you get to learn as an entrepreneur, which we weren't taught in school. We were not taught these in school, right? So what are some of these, or we weren't taught them even in business school. I went to business school, studied international business. I didn't learn anything that I use today in running my business. And so when I got to the point of like starting this coaching business, I was like, same thing. Why I'm putting energy out there. I'm telling people I'm coaching. People are saying they're curious. Why am I not getting any clients? Until I realized I had holes in the bottom of my bucket. So what are those skills? What do you guys think those skills are that I needed to learn that turned everything around and allowed me to then replace that 6-figure income in 8 months and grow to multiple 6 figures quickly after that? What do you think those are? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to wait a minute, see if you can guess it first. Very hot tea, but tasty. So one of those skills is what you might think of as sales, and but a lot of people don't like that word. And I hope that you can come to love that word, because you'll see that selling is just serving, it's being in service, and you can do it in a very authentic and non-pushy, sleazy way. But what I've coined it as over the years, because a lot of people don't resonate with the word sales, is making invitations. I want to ask you this. If you have a certain goal in your business, or like Wednesday, you're just getting your business started, but I think you'd probably love to get your, first or next few clients. So if you have that going on, you have your goal, I'm curious, like, how many invitations are you making on a consistent basis? And some people, it's about how many they're making or not making, and some it's about how they're making them. But I'm just curious, like, how often are you actually in conversations with people, inviting them to take the next step to work with you? Now, this is kind of where we get into the second skill, which isn't so much It is kind of a skill, and it's like client cultivation, I call it. It's like warming up a lead. And what do I mean by that? Think about it this way. If you are making invitations, are you asking people to marry you on the first date? What do I mean by that? So you meet someone at a party and then you invite them to a sales call, or I don't know, you post online and you're asking people directly to join your program. That is like asking somebody to marry you on the first date. Do you guys get that? It's like, hi, nice to meet you. Let's get married. Do you want to, here's a ring. Like, let's do this thing. All right. And it sounds silly, but a lot of times when I share this, people have like light bulbs start going off of like, oh wow, I'm doing this. So either people are typically not making enough invitations, they're asking people to, they are making invitations, but they're being too sort of forward. They're not taking people through a process of dating them, getting to know them, warming them up, and then maybe saying like, hey, maybe you want to go study, like let's take the next step together. And so there is an art to all of this. There is an art to what I call making invitations and client cultivation. And so these are the skills that when I learned these skills, everything changed for me and my business. I went from, like I said, not being able to make any money basically as a coach, very little, to consistently bringing in, enough to leave my previous business, 6 figures or more, and step into coaching full time. I made $20,000 on my first ever launch as a coach, which was a group coaching program. And I put 4 people in it at $5,000, and that was my first launch. And then I did it again a couple months later, and I put 5 or something in, and then it was like, then there was one I put 7 people in it, and so my numbers kept going up and up and up. And why did that change? It changed because, of course, the vision, the mindset, everything we've been talking about. But the other big thing were these skills. These were the skills that made all the difference. So this is why the simplified business system is so different than anything else I see being taught out there, because everything else I see is like, do this marketing strategy, do these things. And I'm like, but what about their leaky buckets? Right? And the great thing about learning these skills is that once you learn them, you have them for good, right? I have made millions through those skills that I learned, and I invested a tiny, 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 tiny fraction of that in learning them and investing in myself to be in programs where I learned those skills. So that is huge. And then from there, then you can learn the marketing, right? Then you can learn an approach. And the way I teach it in the Simplified Business System is marketing approaches that start with your warm network first. I don't mean your close friends and family. I mean your extended warm network, people who know people, like your friends of friends, your old acquaintances, those kinds of people. Because I always say you have so many potential clients waiting in the wings, and you have no idea. People you've forgotten you ever even knew, who are friends with you on social media, or you have them in your contact list or LinkedIn or whatever. And as you start, applying some of these strategies, they will come out of the woodworks and be like, what are you up to? Like, I need to know more. You see? And most people, in my experience, have at least $100,000, if not multiple 6 figures, waiting in their warm network, their extended warm network. So it's then really tapping into that in a way that feels really good for you, and then learning other strategies that, if you want to do social media, you can do social media, or other strategies to like get out in person with people and meet people and convert them into your programs in a way that feels really good on both sides and doesn't feel pushy or sleazy. Do you guys get the difference in this versus like what you're probably hearing about how to grow your business from most people online these days? If so, say I get it in the chat. I want to make sure that you guys are following, that you're with me. So Wednesday says none yet. I'm really at the very beginning. So in terms of invitations. So that's great, Wednesday. So what would you say is the biggest thing holding you back? You said, I don't know where to start earlier. Like what if you could get one thing solved, Wednesday, that would help you then get out there? And same thing for you, Helena, and anybody else watching. If you could get one challenge solved that would have you, or maybe it's a couple different things that would have you feel confident to put yourself out there and start making those invitations and start enrolling clients, what would that be? What is that challenge? Because we've got a few minutes here. I want to be able to answer your questions and make sure that you get this addressed. Same for you, Jasmine. What is that number one challenge for you right now that is getting in the way of you putting yourself out there? Okay. Helena said earlier around the skills that she thought it was communication skills, which is true. I would say specifically around the art of the invitation. Communication skills are always supportive. And then there's an art to that, making invitations, and then gaining trust would go along with that as well. Okay, Helena says fear of critique and fear of failing with my business. Okay, so Helena, I know we've worked on this one. So what do you think it is? Like, why are you still getting stuck there? What's going on? Wednesday, I second what Helena said. Okay, so fears, so the mindset stuff. So that is where, again, I'll share with you guys what made the biggest support change for me, like in breaking through that stuff, was having support. Now, the main thing there in having support is you have to show up. You have to show up. So when I invested in getting support and, hiring coaches and joining programs, because I knew I wasn't breaking through this on my own, and I had tried and failed once before. So I said, why would I sit there and make myself miserable and try to do this all on my own, right? Maybe I could figure it out, but I think I could figure out a lot faster with support. And you guys, I didn't have a lot of money sitting around in a savings account or something like that. I bought my first program. I put the first payment on a credit card. And then I was like, I got to get out there and hustle and make the money back. And that's how I, that lit the fire under my ass, so to speak, to go for it. I don't recommend that path for everyone. But that was for me, and I could have figured out the payments. It's not like I put myself in a bad situation. I, could have made more through my business or whatever to cover it. But I was determined. So even though I couldn't pay the whole thing up front, I invested in myself. And here's the thing though, I invested in myself. I followed exactly what my coaches said, not in the way of like, oh, I couldn't, how would I describe this? I always say when you invest in a program, you invest in working with someone, do exactly what they say for at least a time. Because if you don't try, because what people try to do, I've seen this a lot in people that work with me or go through my programs, they will often come in and they try to like modify it to themselves right away. And I'm like, that's great, but why don't you just follow the system step by step for at least this window of 90 days or whatever it is, really follow the system. And then from there, you can keep what works for you and leave what doesn't. But when we try to modify it too much, it kind of loses its power because it was designed in such a way that it's effective, right? Or you can see then what's effective for you and what's not. But if you don't follow the system, you'll never know. So that's one thing in Helena and is taking the steps. And the second thing is showing up. So if you invest in a program, you need to be on the calls and, getting that support and asking questions and asking for help when you get stuck. And that is what makes the biggest difference. So for me, what made the difference was, getting the support and then showing up and asking for help when I needed it. I would go to my coaches, I would go to my mentors, and I would say, listen, I'm feeling stuck in this fear of failure. What do I do? And they would say, okay, well, let's look at this, or let's dive into this process, or let's, what are you really afraid of here? And we would go through that. And that is how I started to make changes, right? And then I kept taking the action in spite of my fear. And some of that comes from being all in. So we worked on that this weekend in the Magnetize Masterclass series. And if you weren't there again, you can go to magnetizemasterclass.com and opt in. The replays are available for a limited time, but we really took through this process of going all in. And that is so important. The commitment has to be 100% to really make something happen. So Wednesday, on a scale of, or all of you on today, on a scale of 0 to 100 right now, if you're really, really honest with yourself, how all in are you? Like, how committed are you in the sense that you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I am 100% committed to doing whatever it takes to make this business a success or to get to that next level that I'm wanting to get to. What is your number right now? Helena's 100. She was just on the masterclass, which is great, right? What is that for you? Is there anything in you that's hesitating? Any tiny percentage that's hesitating? And that is a super, super important part, okay? Everybody else, what's your number right now on a scale of 0 to 100? So if you were on the masterclass series this weekend, we talked about so Wednesday's a 90. Awesome. That's super honest Wednesday. I appreciate the honesty. And here's the thing we talked about is that other 10% is actively working against you. Okay. So I know it doesn't feel that way. We're like, oh, like, well, I'm not sure if this is it or, um, but that 10% is like our fears, our doubts, are the part of us that doesn't want it to succeed, which we talked a lot about in Magnetize. And if you weren't in there, highly recommend opting in and watching that this week. That series, because it'll take you through a lot of processes that are really powerful to get to that 100%. Because here's the thing, if you're not 100%, like I always tell people, even if they're going to come in and work with me as their coach, they need to be at 100%, not like 100% like everything in their life is working perfectly and they have all the space in the world, and that never happens. Okay, it's more 100% like I am willing. We had a great coaching yesterday on the live call where I walked someone through this in front of everyone. She was very brave and let me let me coach her in front of the group, and she really got it. At first she was like, well, I I don't know how to do this, or I'm not committed because of this. And we went through again and again to where I said, she really got that going all in is a decision that happens in a moment. It's a decision that happens in a moment. And then you keep making that decision again and again and again. But you can have a turning point moment where it clicks and you go, there's no turning back. I'm going to figure this out. I am going to find the support that I need. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And, here's the example I gave in the class over the weekend, is I said, if someone told you that they would give you $1 million if you went all in, truly, truly all in. I don't mean like all your time. I mean energetically and your intent, even if you're working a full-time job, even if you're doing other things. But they said, if you focused at least, I don't know, an hour a day or 2 hours a day or whatever on weekdays, and you focused and you had major intent in your business and you did whatever it took and you faced your fears, you went for it anyway. If you did that for 90 days, I will put $1 million into your bank account at the end of 90 days. Would you find a way? Just say yes in the chat if you would. During the call yesterday or the day before, when I asked that question, people were like, well, yeah, duh. And I was like, so what's stopping you? Right? Maybe you won't have $1 million at the end of 90 days, but you're going to be a heck of a lot further than you are now. So why is that different? You see? Now, of course, sometimes Jasmine said her son had emergency surgery. So I don't know your situation, Jasmine. Like there are times in life where it's really, it's not the highest priority. That's the thing. It's like, if it's not the highest priority, and I don't mean that like it's higher priority than family. I just mean like if you're really in a phase where you're like, no, this is a phase being dedicated to my family, I'm really not in a place where I'm ready or willing to go all in, then that's okay. And then you just know that. And then I always say put a date on it, because a lot of times there's always something that comes up. And so if that's a pattern for you, and there's tends to be like, oh, I'll get to that when, and then that day comes and then something else has come up. Or if that's a pattern for you, then you want to go, okay, I'm going to start on this date no matter what. And one way of doing that sometimes is like investing in a program or a coach and then saying you're going to start it on that date, because then you've invested and you're like, there's no turning back, right? You're committed. That's my approach. It might not be everyone's approach, right? But so you either decide I'm all in or I'm all out. Like maybe this isn't the time, and that's okay too. But if you are but it's like, it's really painful to be in that in between. Do you guys get that? Like for Wednesday or Jasmine or Helena's all in now, which is awesome. But for Wednesday or Jasmine, do you feel like being in that kind of in between where you're like, you want to go for it, but you're kind of beating yourself because you're not going for it, and you're frustrated because these things are going on in your life and you feel like they're getting in the way? Is that frustrating? Like, just be honest. Say frustrated in the chat if you're finding that frustrating, or anybody else watching. And that's in my experience, is people like, they drive themselves crazy. They beat themselves up, and it's like, that's not necessary. Go all in or all out. It doesn't matter. It's like you can live a great life either way, and entrepreneurship also isn't for everyone, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the thing. I'm not glamorizing it. I mean, I love it. I would not trade it. I love the freedom. I love the ability to earn at an unlimited level, to serve at an unlimited level. Like, just, there's so many things about it that are so aligned for me that, at this point, 10 years in, I'm not turning back, right? Or at least I don't think so. It'd be surprising to me. And if I ever did, it would be fine. If I was ever like, you know what, I want to go get a job or go do something completely different, great, right? There's no right answer. But like Wednesday said, the in between sucks. So, what would it take for you to go all in? And then get the support that you need. I've talked about the system today, right? We know the vision, we know the mindset piece, we know the step by step in terms of, what are your gifts? Who do you want to serve? What are your offers? What are your price points? Making sure those are all aligned, making sure there's a market out there willing to pay for your services. And then the skills of the art of the invitation and how to warm up someone if they're curious. And then the marketing approach of how to tap into your extended warm network and find those ideal clients waiting in the wings and enroll them with confidence. And then to how to expand your warm network and get in front of new people, whether that's in person or through, simple online marketing approaches that really fit for you. And so that is hugely, if you are, that's basically the simplified business system, and then getting the support that you need. This is what has worked for me again and again and again and helped me make millions in my businesses over the years. And so that is why I created the Simplified Business Bootcamp, which is the program that I'm offering right now. And I'll drop the link in the chat if you guys want to check it out. Enrollment's open for 2 weeks at the time of this recording. And this is a program that we're going to run live for now. I don't know if I'll turn it into a version that people can just go through on their own in the future. But if you're watching this live, we're going to run it as a live program. It is 10 modules, 14 weeks. We've got some integration weeks in there. And it is about everything I just described to you. It is literally taking you through my simplified business system, step by step, with my support live on coaching calls every single week, and the support of an amazing group of people from around the world. I know Helena's already in. I'm so excited to have her in it. And we've got a great group already coming together. If you have been, looking for support, if you've been putting these things on hold, if you've been feeling confused and you've had that feeling like, I don't just want to go through another program where, first of all, I feel like a number. All of my programs I am highly dedicated to you. Like I'm in there. We've got a WhatsApp chat. You can ask questions anytime between the calls. If I don't get to it in the calls, I'll record a live for you, or a video for you. I am hands-on with everyone. Helena could tell you that. I am incredibly dedicated, right, to my clients and my students. And so this is typically they're fairly intimate. And even if we get a little bit of a larger group, I'm still going to be very, very dedicated to making sure you're getting your questions answered, getting the support you need. And then you're following the step-by-step system. But again, it's not step-by-step in the sense of one size fits all. It's step-by-step, let's learn these skills. Let's learn these marketing approaches. Let's figure out the one that fits for you and your unique gifts and who you want to serve and where those people are hanging out. And the result of all of that is feeling crystal clear and who you are, what you have to offer, confident in putting yourself out there, knowing how to have those conversations. The biggest roadblock people talked about yesterday in my Magnetize Masterclass series was feeling like they had stuff around sales and marketing. Like they didn't want to market their business, or they felt like sales was sleazy, or they were just like, ugh. Like the word sales and marketing just made them go like, oh, I don't want to do any of that, right? And one of the women who went through this program, she told me in her testimonial, she was like, I didn't even want to look at sales and marketing when I came in, but I knew that I wanted to be earning more. I wanted to be sustaining myself through my business. And so she came through the program. She said, I followed the steps and they worked. She started making consistent 5K-ish a month on a regular, consistent, recurring basis, which was for her huge at the time, you see. And so whatever level you're at in your business, if you're just starting out, if you're already in business, and you really want to go to that next level in terms of, financially, or go for that bigger dream, then this program can really, really support you to get there. I'm so excited about it. I would love to have you all in it. If you're for some reason watching this on a page that is not the Facebook group, then it is go.followyouraliveness. So go.followyouraliveness.com/SBB, Simplified Business Bootcamp. Okay. If you're curious, but you're not 100% sure if this is the program that's right for you, there is a link on that page to book a call with me. And I highly recommend you do that. I can put that link here in the chat as well. It's just a 20-minute call, so you want to be super targeted about what your questions are, what you're unclear about in terms of your vision, or whatever it is, to see, is this right for you or not? And really, some people just want to have that conversation before they make a decision. So I'm dropping that link in the chat as well in case you have any questions, okay? I want to see if there were any other questions from those of you watching live. Let's just see. All right. Jasmine says, I said I would give myself until next Monday to recoup. Yeah, that's a big deal, Jasmine. I think give yourself the space, be kind to yourself. It's a big deal, your son going through that. So why don't you just let it go till Monday, right? Let it go till Monday. Bookmark that link if you're curious about the program. Go check it out on Monday. It's open for a couple of weeks, so you have a chance to jump in later if you want to. Or go ahead and, if you're curious, book a call, book it for next week, and then you can think about it then, and it's kind of like you can put it out of your mind until then. Helena says, oh yeah, she's totally dedicated, so I will recommend to participate. You will definitely experience a great transformation to help you go to next level towards your business goals and dreams. Yeah, Helena's in our coaching certification right now, so she's experienced a little of that. All right, we've got a lot of people on live, but I'm not seeing any questions. I'm going to give you guys one more minute or two. Let me know, do you have any other questions about how to grow your business with a more simplified approach? Questions, frustrations, challenges that you're facing that I can support you with here on the call today. Let me just see. Well, so mainly it was the mindset stuff that you guys talked about. Let's see if there is anything else I can share with you. Yeah, I don't think so. Everything about that program, if you are curious about it, is on the page. Go read through it in detail. There's tons of testimonials. There's tons of, there's FAQs at the bottom with all the, questions you might have. So thank you for being on live. I don't see any other Q&As coming through right now. So I will see you all very soon. If you want that Magnetize series, that's free as well. That's www.magnetizemasterclass.com. Okay, see you all soon. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.